If she pulled away, listen carefully. Chasing her right now will only guarantee you lose her for good. But what I'm about to tell you can flip the entire situation in your favor. Most guys panic the moment she starts pulling back. Her texts get shorter. Her energy feels different. She's busy more often. And instead of staying calm, they react. They double text. They try harder. They over explain themselves. They chase. And without realizing it, they destroy whatever attraction was left. You have to understand something at a deeper level. Women don't just wake up one day and randomly pull away for no reason. There is always a shift that happened before the distance. Attraction is not stable. It's not something you get once and keep forever. It's something that's constantly rising or falling based on your behavior, your energy, and how you show up as a man. Somewhere along the way, without even noticing, you probably stopped being the same guy she was originally drawn to. Maybe in the beginning, you were focused on your purpose. You had standards. You weren't always available. You were a challenge. You had a life. But then slowly things changed. You started prioritizing her more than your own mission. You became too available. You replied instantly every time. You stopped giving her the space to wonder about you. And the worst part, you started seeking certainty from her instead of creating attraction. That subtle shift from confidence to neediness is what kills desire. She doesn't say it directly, but she feels it. And when she feels it, she naturally starts to pull back. So instead of asking, why is she doing this to me? You need to start asking a better question. What changed in me that made her feel differently? Because the truth is, her pulling away is not the problem, it's the result of a problem. And if you only focus on her behavior, you'll miss the real issue completely. This is where most men go wrong. They try to fix the situation by doing more texting, more calling, more explaining, more chasing. But that's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more you push, the more she feels overwhelmed and the further she distances herself. What you should be doing instead is stepping back and observing, looking at your actions honestly. Where did you lose your edge? Where did you stop leading? Where did you start needing her more than she needed you? Because once you identify the real cause, everything changes. You stop reacting emotionally and you start responding strategically. You realize that attraction isn't rebuilt through words, it's rebuilt through behavior, through presence, through who you are when she interacts with you. And that's a shift that puts you back in control. Fix the cause, not the reaction. That's how you make her feel what she felt in the beginning again. When she starts pulling away, everything inside you tells you to move closer. You feel the distance, you feel the silence, and your instinct is to close that gap as fast as possible. You want to text her, call her, remind her of what you had, try to bring things back to how they were. But that instinct, as natural as it feels, is exactly what pushes her even further away. You have to understand this clearly. Attraction doesn't grow in pressure, it grows in space. The more you try to force connection when she's already leaning back, the more she feels overwhelmed. And when she feels overwhelmed, she creates even more distance to protect her emotional state. That's why chasing never works. It doesn't make her feel more for you, it makes her feel less. Space is what allows emotions to breathe. When you step back, when you stop filling every silence, when you're no longer constantly showing up in her notifications, something important starts to happen. She finally gets the chance to feel your absence. And absence, when used correctly, is powerful. It creates curiosity, it creates mystery. It makes her wonder what you're doing, who you're with, why you're not reaching out like before. Most men are afraid of that silence. They think if they don't act, they'll lose her. But the truth is, if you don't give her space, you guarantee losing her. Because right now, she's already creating distance. If you keep pushing forward while she's stepping back, the gap only gets wider. But if you match her energy and lean back as well, the dynamic starts to rebalance. Giving space doesn't mean playing games or trying to manipulate her. It means respecting her emotional state and having enough self control to not react impulsively. It means you're strong enough to walk away from the need to constantly check in, to constantly validate the connection. That kind of calm confidence is what she actually responds to, even if she doesn't say it out loud. And here's the deeper part most people don't see. When you give her space, you're not just giving her room to miss you, you're also giving yourself the chance to reset. You break out of that anxious, reactive mindset. You stop making decisions based on fear of losing her. Instead, you return to a grounded place where your actions come from strength, not desperation. During that time, you don't sit around waiting. You get back to your life. You focus on your purpose, your goals, your routine. You rebuild that version of yourself that didn't revolve around her attention. And that shift, whether she sees it directly or just feels it through your energy, is what starts to change the dynamic. Because the moment she senses that you're no longer chasing, no longer desperate, no longer trying to force things, that's when her perception of you begins to shift again. She starts to feel that space you left behind, and in that space, her attraction has room to grow again. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to do nothing at all and trust that your absence will speak louder than your presence ever could. While she's pulling away and you're giving her the space she needs, this is where most men either win everything back or lose it completely. Because what you do during this time matters more than anything you say to her. If you sit around waiting, overthinking, checking your phone every few minutes, hoping she reaches out, you stay stuck in the same weak position that caused the problem in the first place. But if you use this time the right way, you become the man she can't ignore. Attraction doesn't come from words, it comes from who you are and how you live your life. And the truth is, the most attractive version of you is the one who is busy building something meaningful, something bigger than just a relationship. When your entire focus shifts on her, when she becomes the center of your world, you slowly lose the very qualities that attracted her in the beginning. Your edge fades, your purpose weakens, and she feels that even if she can't explain it. So now is the moment to rebuild, not for her, for yourself. Get back into your routine, hit the gym with intensity, push yourself in your work or your studies, reconnect with friends. Start doing things that challenge you and make you grow, because every time you invest energy into your own life, you're strengthening your confidence, your discipline, and your sense of direction. And here's what's powerful about this: when you're genuinely focused on your own growth, you stop needing her attention to feel good. You stop waiting for her messages to validate your mood. You become more grounded, more calm, more centered. That energy shift is real, and it changes the way she experiences you when you do interact again. Women are naturally drawn to men who are going somewhere in life. A man with purpose, with ambition, with direction, that's what creates long term attraction. Not constant texting, not trying to impress her with words, not chasing her for reassurance. It's the man who is building, improving, evolving, the man who has standards in a life that doesn't pause for anyone. And when she starts to see or even just sense that you're moving forward without needing her, it triggers something. She begins to question her decision to pull away. She becomes curious again, because now, instead of being the guy who's always available and predictable, you're the guy who has his own world, his own momentum. You become a mystery again, and mystery is what reignites attraction. But this only works if it's real. You can't fake growth. You can't pretend to be busy while secretly hoping she notices. This is about genuinely leveling up your life, regardless of whether she comes back or not. That mindset is what separates a high value man from everyone else. Because in the end, you're not trying to get her back by convincing her. You're becoming the kind of man she naturally feels drawn to again. And when that happens, attraction doesn't need to be forced. It happens on its own. As you start focusing on your own life again and creating that space, there's another shift that has to happen internally, and this one is critical. You have to completely let go of the need for her validation, because the moment you rely on her attention, her replies, or approval to feel good about yourself, you've already put yourself in a weak position. Most men don't even realize they're doing this. It shows up in small ways: checking if she's seen your message, waiting for her reply before you can relax, feeling good when she gives you attention, and anxious when she doesn't. That emotional dependency creates pressure, and that pressure is something she can feel instantly. Even if you don't say it directly, it comes through in your tone, your timing, your behavior. And here's the problem: when she feels that you need her validation, it lowers her attraction, because attraction is built on emotional strength, not dependency. She wants to feel like you choose her, not like you rely on her to feel complete. The more you seek reassurance, the more you communicate, not enough on my own, and that slowly pushes her away. So the shift you need to make is simple but not easy. You have to reach a point where your emotional state is no longer controlled by her actions. Whether she texts you or not, whether she gives you attention or not, you remain the same: calm, centered, focused. That's real confidence. It's not loud, it's not forced, it's not trying to prove anything. It's just stable. When you stop seeking validation, your behavior naturally changes. You don't over text anymore. You don't feel the urge to explain yourself. You don't chase conversations that aren't flowing. Instead, you become more selective with your time and energy. You respond when it feels right, not because you're afraid of losing her. And that subtle shift is powerful because now, instead of being predictable and always available, you become someone who has standards, someone who isn't easily shaken by emotional ups and downs. And that's the kind of energy that naturally draws her back in. It also changes the dynamic completely. When she senses that you're no longer looking for validation, she starts to invest more. She becomes the one wondering where she stands. She becomes the one reaching out, trying to reconnect, trying to feel your attention again. And it's not because you manipulated her, it's because you removed the pressure and returned to a position of strength. This is where a lot of men make a mistake. They think confidence is about saying the right things or acting a certain way, but real confidence is internal. It's the ability to be okay without needing constant reassurance. It's knowing your worth without needing someone else to confirm it. And once you truly operate from that place, everything changes. Your interactions become lighter, more natural, more attractive. You're no longer trying to get something from her. You're simply sharing your time with her. And that's what makes her valued again. When you don't need her validation, you become the man she seeks validation from. Once you've given her space and rebuilt your own life, the next lesson is one most men struggle to accept. You cannot force attraction. No amount of messages, calls, or explanations will make her come back if her heart and mind aren't ready. Attraction is emotional, not logical, and it cannot be manufactured or negotiated. The moment you try to force it, you immediately step back into the weak position you were in before, and all the progress you made in becoming confident and independent is wasted. This is where patience becomes your secret weapon. Attraction often grows in silence and absence, and in the subtle energy you radiate without needing to control her feelings. She needs the freedom to process what she feels, to notice what she misses, and to realize on her own that your presence adds value to her life. If you keep pushing, you create pressure, and pressure kills desire. You have to trust the process and understand that your role is not to chase, but to be the man she's naturally drawn to, someone who is centered, self sufficient, and unwavering. Most men fail here because they confuse action with control. They think constant effort equals progress, but in reality, attraction responds to measured, intentional presence, not frantic chasing. The right energy is calm and deliberate. It's knowing that whether she reaches out today, tomorrow, or in a week, your worth is not defined by her decision. That internal stability is magnetic. Women instinctively notice a man who isn't dependent on their validation, someone who has his own life priorities and purpose. During this period, it's essential to maintain your standards. Don't bend just to get her back. Don't agree to meet when it's inconvenient or settle for less than respect. When she does reach out, your reaction matters more than the words you say. You want her to feel the shift in your energy, that you've remained grounded, confident, and high value throughout the distance. That unbothered energy communicates more than any text or explanation could. It's also important to remember that absence alone isn't enough. You must combine it with presence, presence in your own life. Grow, improve, take care of yourself, pursue your passions, and expand your social and professional world. The more you thrive independently, the more she notices the qualities she originally admired, and the more she begins to wonder why she pulled away in the first place. That mix of space and self improvement creates an irresistible pull that words cannot manufacture. Ultimately, the lesson is simple: attraction cannot be forced. It must be invited. When she decides to reconnect, it should feel natural, not coerced. Your focus is on being the man who inspires desire through his actions, his energy, and his unwavering confidence. Anything beyond that is beyond your control, and trying to control it will only backfire. When you accept that attraction comes from choice, not pressure, you step into true power. When she finally does come back, this is the moment where most men make the biggest mistake. They immediately fall back into old patterns. They overcompensate, they apologize too much, they try to win her approval again, and they forget all the progress they made while she was pulling away. But if you want to truly rebuild attraction and establish a strong, lasting connection, you must stay centered, calm, and unbothered. Your energy in this moment will determine whether the relationship moves forward or slips back into the same unhealthy dynamic. Being centered means showing up as the man you've been cultivating during the time she was distant. You don't need to over explain, justify, or prove yourself. You respond from a place of confidence, not neediness. You understand that her return is her choice and that her choice doesn't define your value. This mindset immediately communicates strength and self respect, and that energy is magnetic. It tells her that you are a man who knows his worth and will not compromise it for temporary comfort or reassurance. You also have to be deliberate with your actions. Don't reward bad behavior by immediately giving all your attention back. Attraction is maintained through balance. You meet her with warmth and respect, but you don't become a doormat or instantly available. This is the difference between a man who is in control of the dynamic and a man who is at the mercy of her decisions. She needs to see that you have boundaries, that your time and energy are valuable, and that she has to invest in the connection as well. At the same time, it's crucial to maintain your authenticity. You're not being distant or calm as a strategy to manipulate her, but because that is genuinely who you are now. Your actions should feel natural, grounded, and effortless. Women are sensitive to energy that feels forced. When your calmness and confidence come from a real place, she senses it, and that reinforces attraction far more than words ever could. Another key part is demonstrating consistency. If she comes back once and you respond perfectly, but then slip into old needy patterns the next time, you undo all the work you've done. Attraction is built over time through repeated demonstrations of stability, purpose, and self respect. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce that you are a man who is secure, independent, and unshakable. Finally, when she sees that you remain grounded, she begins to feel the pull she experienced at the start, a mix of respect, desire, and curiosity. She realizes that your value was never dependent on her presence, and that realization makes her want to meet you where you are rather than expecting you to meet her wherever she was emotionally. This is the essence of leading the dynamic, not through control or manipulation, but through strength, consistency, and authenticity. When you combine patience, self growth, and centered energy, you create the conditions for a connection that is strong, balanced, and deeply attractive. Attraction is maintained not by chasing, but by being the man she wants to be with, calm, confident, and unbothered every single time.